Let me just say this. Let me be a voice of reason. Never in the history of the world, not even one time, has a wife ever cheated on her husband, left her husband, divorced her husband because her husband was balding or because he was bald. It's never happened. I promise you it's never happened. Now, immediately, because I said what I just said, you're looking for exceptions to the rule. And you're going to try to tell me this story about this guy who was balding and his wife cheated on him, left him, or divorced him. And as this was in the aftermath, she made a comment to him, and finally, well, at least now I can go get me a man who has hair. Basically rubbed it in his face that he was balding as they were breaking up after the event. Okay? I will accept that that's happened before. But what I will not accept is that the reason that the wife cheated on, left the husband, or divorced him was because he was balding. That has never happened. But see, confident people hear what I just said, and immediately their defenses go up. The identity protective cognition kicks into gear, and they say, that's easy for you. Even with diffuse thinning receding hairline, you still have more hair than I did at 37 and a half, right? Because in their minds, they think that women will actually leave their husband or cheat on or divorce him if he's losing his hair, because they take that after the split insult, they take that insult seriously. And for every story like that, we could say the same thing about this. Okay, let's talk about a time a man cheated on, left his wife, or divorced his wife, and in the process, he hurled some kind of deep wound insult to her, something that he knew that was dear to her identity. Let's think of something. Let's go with something very obvious according to what pop culture teaches us about how women think. And that is, he said to the woman, well, I'm going to go find someone who's skinny now. Ouch. The dagger in the heart. Because that's basically the equivalent of a woman like saying to the guy, you know, okay, you're bald, okay, you're fat, or whatever. Like those, I think if we could reduce it to two things that are just deep wound insults that people who have been together for a long time, whatever, that they would, you know, hurl at each other in anger and insecurity and fear. That's where they would go. It's the most obvious places. And there's other ones, but those would be the most obvious. But I believe never in the history of the world has a man ever left, on a similar note, has he ever left his wife on account of her gaining weight. I do not believe that. What I believe is this, and let me be the voice of reason. Okay? Here's what I have noted. And this goes back to, let me share this with you. I know a lot of people watching my channel, there's so many reasons not to like me in my channel, yet to keep watching my videos anyway. Curse me out and then watch another video. But one of the reasons people don't like me is from time to time I mentioned that I am a Christian. And people get angry when they hear that. By the way, I'm not here to convert you, but it's relevant to this story that I bring this up. I remember, man, I was 25. I hadn't even met my wife yet. And I remember the pastor of the church that I was going to, which by my wife was attending that church. We just hadn't met each other yet. We met each other somewhere else, but we were actually going. But something that he had said is, he said this, that out of all of the many years he's counseled couples who are on the verge of divorce, and ultimately that happened because one person cheated on the other, especially the man specifically. He said this, he's basically never experienced a time where a man cheated on his wife simply because of sex. Never happened. He said he never encountered that. Instead, the real reason the man cheated on his wife was because there was a disconnect in communication and affection, yes, but ultimately affection with a woman is based on communication and a closeness in relationship to begin with. So if you don't have that, if you're not good at communicating with your wife and you don't have a strong relationship outside of the physical is not going to happen. And therefore, so it wasn't because this other lady was just so attractive he couldn't help himself. No, it was because the relationship was already broken and strained to begin with. And I think we can say the same thing with women as well. It's not like a woman, and it's so funny when people in the comment section assume that women have the same sex drive as men. That's always funny to me. Like, one of the first things you learn when you get married is that the main difference between men and women is actually not even physical. It's psychological. Men think so much differently than women. Men think in boxes, in compartments, only one thing at a time. And women think like this. Everything's happening all the time. Okay? So it's like, I understand these concepts. But we could say on a similar note with women. When women cheat on their husbands, it's not because they found a better looking man, which goes back to this insecurity that balding men have. Oh no, she's gonna leave me for someone who has more hair. And the same thing could be said by the short guy. She's gonna marry me for someone who's over 6 foot tall, or whatever it is. That men think that a woman is gonna cheat on them or leave them because of this other man who has this other physical quality. And maybe even then it's not even physical. Maybe it's something like, well, a guy that makes more money than I do. Whatever the insecurity is, people think that people cheat on each other and leave each other because the other person has this superficial thing that they cannot provide themselves. It's not how it works. It's all based on communication and the relationship being strong to begin with. That's when that starts falling apart. That's when the man or the woman starts thinking, but I've got this hole right here that it's not being filled. It's not the way I perceive communication. It's not being filled. The way I experience closeness and that's actually having a friendship and talking, that it's not being met. So in an act of desperation, because the other person is not helping that happen, they go somewhere else. So that's the thing. That's the biggest concern or fear you should have when you finally do get married, if you're not married yet or you already are. The biggest fear is not that your spouse is going to leave you or cheat on you or divorce you because you're losing your hair or you're gaining weight or something like that. That's not why it's because the relationship needs to be strengthened and the communication needs to be happening. That's what it actually comes down to. But in a world of YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and commercials and everything, people, instead of believing the truth, which is what I say, they heard what I just said in those first 8 minutes of video and they think, oh, that's a lie. They hear the truth and they hear it as a lie. Instead, they believe the lies that if you don't have enough hair, that if you don't have enough money, that if you're too fat or too skinny or too short or too tall, you're going to lose your spouse. And that's even if you can get one in the first place, because if you're too fat or too skinny or too tall or too bald or whatever it is. That's the concept that so many people believe. They buy into that. But remember, I'm the most level-headed voice of reason you have had access to today, in me telling you how it actually is. This was a conversation about men who were worried that their wives are going to leave them, cheat on them, divorce them because they're losing their hair. Women do not leave their husbands. It's never happened because of that. It was always some other reason. And that wife probably along the way had some kind of way she was trying to tell the guy that, and he wouldn't listen. And he probably knew that and didn't try to figure it out and talk to her. Billy Joel, tell her about it. I'd sing the melody, but YouTube won't let me make money off of this video if I sing a melody. So I'm not allowed to sing unless it's my own song. So, and I do have at least one song on this video channel. If you want to check it out, you can find it. But anyway, it's amazing though, and it's a tragedy that after watching this 10-minute video, people will only be angry at my words because their own insecurity and lack of understanding of why people cheat on each other remains in the dark. And for that very reason, people who walk away from this video angry at me, cursing me out, leaving me the thumbs down, are the very people who are more likely to end up cheated on, divorced, or left, because they're still in the dark. They can't hear the truth. They only listen to the lies, which only therefore reinforces their own beliefs in the world that she's going to leave me, or she's never going to want me to begin with because of my hair. Because the more you live in that world, the smaller you get, and the rest, the bigger all of those insecurities get. See, that's the problem though. That's one of the worst things in the world about human beings is identity protective cognition. When they're experiencing a problem, instead of being able to access and accept the truth and the help that they need, they go the other way with it. And then they turn on the person who is actually there to help them. It happens a lot. I'm used to it, and I won't take it personally. But I'm telling you, a woman has never left her husband over hair loss. She left him because he was not there for him emotionally. More than anything, he wasn't there for her emotionally. That's really what it was about. Remember, if you're the person who needs to hear this the most, you're probably most at risk for thinking that none of this is true. Comments belong right here.